What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comic creator Justin Richards. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Man,
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to talk to you again. It's always a good time. I feel like we get talking down some rabbit holes of comics, and so it's always a good time talking comics with you. So
I appreciate. That's what I used to do on YouTube all the time. So
it's so good. So we're gonna hop into your new anthology that you have coming out on Kickstarter.
yeah,
If you're watching this now, it's dropping tomorrow. And it's something I'm really excited to just talk about. But real quick, I know we've mentioned this stuff before, but if someone's new to kind of who you are as a creator, how did you get into creating comics?
yeah. Creating comics came. I started doing what you're doing. I was on YouTube for about 3 years with my friends, just reviewing comics, doing creator interviews like this one and all that kind of stuff. And I just between how many comics I read by doing that, because I had a pull list at one point that was 90 books. Uh, yeah, and I had to like cut that in half and then cut that in half and then that and now I have like two single issues that I get every that's all I subscribe to ahead of time and everything else is just trades. But yeah, so doing that and then like talking to creators and talking to editors and things like that got me I started realizing like how comics are made and thought that was something I thought it could be really cool to do. And so I decided one day to just try, and I came up with an idea for a book and worked on it for like 2 years and pitched that, and then got lucky and got it accepted, kind of thing. So
Nice. Was it Finger Guns? Was that your first published
yeah,
stuff? That's
yep, that
awesome.
was my first stab. I got so lucky. Like I know so many people that have had five different pitches that they've been trying and like got none of them picked up, and I know I got super lucky.
That's
But
That's awesome. Well, it's funny as you said that like you did what I'm doing for like 3 years, which is I feel like I'm coming up on 3 years and 6 months. So it means I got to come up with a comic book idea.
there you go. You've got 6 months on
I
my
better come up with a good one. Finger Guns was great, but no pressure for me. So when you started getting into comic book creating, then you had these ideas. How did you start to go, okay, this is something that I can take, though the process as I'm interviewing creators and understanding the process, how did that then develop into your craft? Like, how did you take this idea that you had and said, okay, I'm gonna make this happen?
It was mostly like figuring it out as I go kind of deal. I definitely the one good thing with like comic book scripting and like writing is like there's no rules, which is both like a curse and a blessing because like it makes it so like you can kind of do it your own way, but also like makes it so you're kind of like lost in the woods if you don't have a way that you figure out. But a lot of it was asking friends in the industry questions, particularly like when it came to pitching and like getting ready
Mhm.
to actually do that. I had no idea. And so it was just a matter of like one of the most helpful people in my early process was Tim Daniel, actually from Bulk Comics. Um, he call him Comics Dad for a reason. He takes care of everybody, and he's such a nice guy. And yeah, he gave me all kinds of advice on the pitch, and like one of the biggest ones was like keep it to one page.
Mm.
And so that's where I learned to like make pitches kind of like the way that I help other people who are breaking in, like the way that I recommend doing it is like a resume. You have a one page, get their attention, sell
Yeah.
them on reading the rest of anything else. And so basically you've got one page to like, because it's true, like editors are getting pitches nonstop at
Yeah.
cons, emails, people who are already in the industry, tons of people trying to break in. So the thing is just to like make sure that it sells quick, basically.
Well, it makes sense, and I mean, and I say this as as someone who's doing interviews, and I'm sure when you were doing this back in the day too, to get a 1-page pitch for someone who wants to come on and talk about a book is super helpful, as someone who's doing an interview, like, because I've got to be captivated, I've got to be captured too, and I'm not even a freaking editor of a publisher, but the idea of keeping it concise and saying, okay, here's what you want to, you want to hook them in, but then still like, but you want to read more.
Yeah, one of the biggest skills that I think I've developed that has become helpful and that like every writer needs is just learning to like sell your books in any length of time, anywhere from like you got to have a 1 sentence log line all the way up to like a little summary paragraph, and then all the way up to a 2 to 5 page outline of like detailed stuff that happens in the book, kind of thing. So just learning how to like prepare for that, and like making sure that like if you were to ask me about my next pitch, I've got an elevator sentence in my mind on like how to explain it, because I've had people go, oh, that like what are you working on, what's your next thing, and I'm like, oh, it's this, and they're like, what's it about, and I'm like, gotta explain it and explain it and explain
Right.
it. Yeah, like it was early on. I think Joe Corallo actually told me, like, I was explaining finger guns to him at a con, but like when it was picked up, but like wasn't in the works yet, and he was like, "That sounds great. Learn to say that in 2 sentences."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And
Oh yeah.
and it's funny because he literally was just on my show like 2 weeks last week, I think. So.
I saw that. Yeah.
So, well, I want to talk a lot about your anthology that you're working on. Everything is different now, and it's going to be on Kickstarter. So, well, what's the pitch then? We talked about you crafted the pitch. What's your pitch?
Yeah, so everything's different now. On August 2nd, is I'm calling it like a rage-filled anthology. It's a collection of shorts, all written by me, with the theme generally of rage. It's my response to like when I wake up in the morning and I read the news, essentially. Like when you look around and you're just like, man, nothing in my adult life is how I thought it was, like how it was sold to me as a child. There's no white picket fence. There's no affordable mortgage. Just the way that the world is just pisses me off a lot of the time. And this is kind of my response to it. I've got a bunch of 1-pager. Like I kept everything nice and short. It's a 20-page total book. So because I wanted it to be something quick, accessible, cheap. And so it's 20 pages. Everything is 1 to 4 pages max. Like I kept it really concise on stuff. We got fake ads. That one that I'm just so proud of, I believe, is one that I sent you, the Selma one.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. For those that haven't seen it, there's a parody of Elmo, who's a tool for capitalism and nothing else. And yeah, that's one of my proudest creations.
And
it's so stupid.
Who did the art on that one? Was that Adam?
Yeah, so Adam Cahoon is heavily involved, both through like he did Selmo, he did the 1-page ad for Selmo, and then he has my longest story, which is 4 pages. It's my most personal one. That one's called Silent Nevermore. And then he designed our logo. So
yeah, because the art on the Elmo one is fantastic. Like, yeah, because you sent me a handful of preview pages, and that was one that just like it popped when I saw the art, the color. Like, whew.
Yeah, he did everything on that. He even lettered it himself. Like, I have a colorist and a letterer on this book, which are Linda Campbell is doing the colors, and Tobin Rasicot is doing the letters. And yeah, he was like, I want to do my own colors. I was like, okay, that's fine. And then he turned it in with letters. And I was like, you didn't need to do all that work, man, but it looks great.
I'll take it. But...
yeah.
So what was it for you then? Because I know, like, coming off of Finger Guns and, being in a more of a long story format, because that was 5 issues?
Yeah.
What was it for you to say, okay, I want, and I know you did the zine of Silent Night, where you're like, okay, let's go into an anthology mindset more for this next project.
100% honesty is I was thinking I want to build my resume and I wanted to tell a lot of different stories to kind of show off my
Yeah.
skills a little bit, I guess. So that's kind of like the core of what like made me think about like I want to do another project, like another Kickstarter or something, to like build the resume while I'm waiting for bigger stuff to
Mhm.
get announced or, even like sign the contracts and stuff like because comics be slow, especially during the pandemic.
Right.
I was one of those people. 2020 was my year, man. 2020 was my year. I had Finger Guns came out in February 2020, and like issue one launched literally a week before everything in the world got shut down and canceled, and that includes cons that I was gonna like. Finger Guns was gonna be like the feature vault book there, and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, and then like all the publishers were just like, yeah, I love Finger Guns. We're not taking submissions right now, like because just like the world went on pause, and so I kind of learned to do stuff, to figure out ways to fill in between there, and so that's kind of where Kickstarter comes in. And yeah, I just was like, I want to do something else. Like I want to get something else out there into my fans' hands. And yeah, so I was like, well, I should do something that's got like a lot of different stories so that I can like showcase my talents and like send it around as like a resume piece, so to speak. Obviously, like once I figured it out, like the stories are all very personal and very like, it's not like uh, I just want to make sure people realize like I'm not just doing it to build my resume. I do care about
Right.
these stories, and these are
Yeah.
like they're real. It's a real legitimate like passion project. So
So it sounds like it was almost like it was a twofold project for you of, you had personal stories that you wanted to get out there, and it was also it was doing it in an anthology way allowed you to showcase your talents of, hey, like, you might only know me so far from Finger Guns, but I have other styles of stories that I want to tell and share and put out there in the ethos as well.
totally, yeah, it's been a really cathartic experience making this book. Like it came together really quick. And I think the reason behind that is just like I chose a topic that I had a lot to say about.
Mhm.
And so, because I was kind of like, well, what do I have ideas for? Going through my notes app and like I got like this, and whatever. And then, yeah, that's when I settled on on rage and on like kind of more of like a political and modern like talking about real problems in the world and stuff.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because in one of the pictures you sent me, you have a button. I think it was a button that said, or it's a sticker that comics are political, and
Like
yeah,
this
there it is.
guy,
Yeah,
it's a
which
button.
is, it's always an interesting conversation, because I know, that can get people up in arms sometimes. Like, I don't want politics in my comics, and when I saw that button, I'm like, it's so true. Like, comics have always been a story form for telling political viewpoints, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah, I mean everything from you can get into Superman, right? The very first superhero, and how that was created by two Jewish dudes in their garage, and like the persecution that they faced
Mm-hmm.
translated into the persecution that Superman faced as an alien, things like that. And then my biggest selling point, whenever like if somebody's like, "Oh, keep your politics out of my comics," is I go, dude, Captain America's first cover was him punching Hitler in the face. That was his first cover. That's his introduction to us. So if you love Captain America and Marvel at all, you love political comics. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
so that's why I felt like the button had to be made. I felt like it was something that fit with the theme of taking a stance on some stuff and on
Right.
some things that really pissed me off. And yeah, and I love the design like how it came out and everything. It's like a little I voted
Yeah.
button.
And it's really cool. And it is just interesting to see, like, because I think sometimes we, when we consume content sometimes, that if we don't agree with something or set it off, we're like, well, this just means it's bad. And it's like, no, it's not what you might vibe, and that's okay. But there's always been the underlying thread of politics in comics. And so I always laugh when people are like, oh, keep politics. I'm like, dude, that's what comics are.
Yeah, that's literally what they are. So yeah, it's just felt like making that little statement,
Yeah.
uh, I'm sure some people won't like it, but that's okay. That's what comics are for.
Yeah. Well,
So
but that's art, right? Too, right? Like
yeah,
some are gonna resonate with something and others are not.
100%.
And I think we use that term like, oh, comics aren't we keep politics out of comics when it's something that we don't want it in. But if it's a politics that we agree with, we're like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, it's
100%.
fine.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah,
So
we did.
go
Go
for it.
ahead.
No, go
No, I
ahead.
was I was gonna say we did 3 buttons, and like the other two are more closely tied to like stuff in the book, but yeah, they all kind of have like that same kind of message where um do you mind if I show a curse word on the screen? I don't
You're
know if
fine
you
with that.
I
So,
I
yep.
figured it's fine,
Yep.
but so like this is another one. If it can focus. It says never stop, fuck caution, go now. So it's like the traffic light colors, and like yeah, just stuff that like really speaks. This is actually from our back cover. It's a little rat in a cage.
Oh
The,
yeah.
the lighting sucks,
I
but
get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So it says despite, and it's a little rat in a cage. Uh, yeah, like
I'm singing the song in my head right now.
it's a killer song. I love that song. For anybody that doesn't know, "Bullet with Butterfly Wings" by Smashing Pumpkins. Look it up. It's a killer track.
And then you'll get the button all the
Yeah,
all the better.
yeah. So we set that up as like one of our reward tiers. With it's a combo with a sticker sheet that we're doing. It's like scout badges of different stuff in the book, and I called it our Ranger Scout
That's
badges.
awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you get, because we've talked a little bit about some of the creative talent on this book, but I mean
Mm.
your A covers with your B cover without like, and then Adams
Right.
are like, how did you get your creative team together with and just make this happen?
Well, so for one, I got to shout out my editor, Michelle, um, at Cereal Pancake on Twitter. If you want to follow her, she's great. Um, and her Michelle Abinator, I should say. Uh, she's been a big help as far as just keeping me on track and organized, and like every time that I'm like ready to second guess myself on something, I go, "What do you think?" And she's like, "It's great." And so, uh,
Was sorry to interrupt. Was
uh,
Michelle, she edited Color of Always, right? That you
yep,
both were working with Brent. Okay.
yeah, and
I
I
thought the
yeah,
name sounded familiar.
yep. So yeah, she's the kind of the main driving force behind Color of Always, and they have another anthology coming soon that I'm helping out with in the same role, where I'm on like it's an editorial advisory board, so to speak, where I'm there to be like the writer advisor, I guess, and help review pitches and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that. We call that one SWAT Cow. It's sharp wit in the company of women. it's it's all sword ladies. It's gonna be fun. We're taking submissions right now. Although by the time you see this, submissions will close because they're closing like July 31st. So
Okay.
never mind. We're not currently taking. So, anyway, yeah. So I met Michelle through Color of Always, and we hit it off. We talk every day. We're really good buds. And then yeah, I was doing this, and I told her about it, and she was like, I'd love to help you if you need it. And I was like, yes, I would love that. So she's helped keep me on track. And then as far as getting this amazing freaking creative team together, it was just kind of a lot of people that I know.
Yeah.
Um, so like we haven't officially announced anything, but like we will by the time this comes out. So like Chris Sheehan is a buddy of mine who obviously has been just blowing up lately with all the stuff he's doing over at Boom with House of Slaughter and all that stuff. So got him and Kelly Williams and or I should say them for Chris. They're they them.
Mm. Yep.
And then Kelly Williams, Liana Kangas did the cover A. I'm so blessed. I was so like stoked when she agreed to do that. I was like, yo,
Let's go.
that's gonna be the shit, and it is.
It is, and because and then she just had a cover for the new Scott Snyder book with IDW, which was fantastic
Fire,
cover too.
right?
Like, it's so good.
Yeah, they've been doing so many covers. Like they did that Mindset one for Vault, that's San Diego exclusive,
Mhm.
and all this. And then, yeah, here I am with this little like Kickstarter. Got a book by like one of the hottest cover artists.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Val. He was looking for cover work. I was looking for another cover. Obviously, we're buds from Finger Guns, and I just hit him up, and he was like, "Of course," and he killed that too.
Yeah. Oh, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, I love our covers. We have a tier to get both, so no worries on that. Uh, and then yeah, just like I said, like everybody was kind of just people that I know. Michelle helped. She's really good friends with Fellhound, and I know Fellhound, but
Mhm.
she kind of took care of getting Fell on the book, and yeah, and then from there it was like Adam and Jimmy. Adam Cahoon was very like, I love it. Like he was one of the first people I sent the project to be like, do you want to be on this? And because he and I were going to work together on another anthology thing a while back, and we didn't get to.
Mhm.
Um, and that was going to be a really fun, stupid story about like skater friends who turn into a T-Rex and eat a rich dude because eat the rich, baby. But yeah, we didn't get to do it. So I was like, I want to work with Adam. And I hit him up and sent him like every idea I had. And he was like, I want to do all of these. So that's why he's doing two and why he's doing the logo.
Mhm.
And then same thing with Jimmy. He's a really close buddy of mine. With he and I are still working together on I Only Have Eyes for You, which was on Kickstarter, but it didn't get funded. So we're pitching that one around and reworking stuff and like kind of figuring out what we're gonna do.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up because I had you on, last
yeah,
time we were talking about that, and oh, I was so excited for that. So I'm hoping.
yeah. There's still some good hope for that book. Like it's not dead in the water yet, so we'll see what happens. But
Sweet.
yeah, Jimmy was just like, yeah, let me on, please. I want to do whatever. So he's doing two. He's got a 1-page ad and then a 3-page story, uh, which he just turned in his pages, and my goodness, they're so good, so good. And yeah, Andrea Rosales, I've been working with her on a pitch for a long time, and she just got into that DC Heritage program,
Hmm.
and so like, yeah, just everything kind of worked out great. Like I had a few other artists that didn't work out, but then like that made room for like Chris and Andrea, and that worked out just fine.
You're
So
like, all right.
yeah, I'm not disappointed at all.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the Kickstarter tiers that you mentioned, some of the buttons and stuff. What are some that you want to highlight? Because I always like when a Kickstarter comes on that, talk about tiers, because that's something that attracts people into like, oh, I need that in my life.
Yeah. So I'm going real simple with this one.
Okay.
I don't like I think I went a little overboard on my last one. I had some really cool stuff. I had like coffee and things like that. But like trying to keep things manageable and things that can like all ship together really easily. So like the biggest focus is the buttons and the sticker sheet, which I don't have an example of, but it's gonna be really rad. And then everything else is pretty much the books, or I have a like you can kind of get everything I've ever written in one. If you haven't read Finger Guns, or if you want a signed copy of it, or if you missed out on a Silent Night, it's Finger Guns, a Silent Night, both covers of this, and you get the buttons and the stickers and stuff, and it's only going to be $50, not too bad for like
Yeah.
a full thing. And then we actually have some sweet
Okay.
commission tiers for Fellhound, and another artist that I haven't mentioned that's on there yet is Fabian Lillet. Fabian's gonna be doing a few commissions for the project as well. So
Nice. So, I mean, I was kind of hoping that we're gonna have a full scale, of the knockoff MO doll that we could have, but it's all right. Don't worry.
yeah, it's marketing is a weird thing, man.
Yeah, it is. And
It's
I'm
weird.
sure that would be super, super expensive to get created.
Someday, I'll do, when I'm if I ever get up to a level, where I like can guarantee that I'm gonna get 20,000 on something or something like that, then I'll do some wild fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
I love that kind of stuff. But like I wanted to do a t-shirt on this one for like I wanted to do a Selmo t-shirt,
mhm.
and it's just like so not for like the profit
Yeah.
margin between shipping, getting it, the different sizes, and all like it's a nightmare. It's a
Yeah.
goddamn nightmare. So yeah,
I get it. I get it. So, you said this is what, around 20 pages?
yeah,
So you
20
get
interior pages.
okay. So you're getting that, and you as a base tier, but then like now when you said the all your other stuff, is it actually like a trade of finger guns, or is it back issues, or
It'll be a trade.
okay.
I have some back issues, but that like on a silent night, I did like number ones and like singles 1 through 5 and trade, and like some people did buy the different formats and stuff, but it was a major hassle to
Yeah.
figure it all out and ship it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just simplifying it this time with, I mean, I'm kind of actually like running really low on singles anyway, but yeah, I'm simplifying it, whereas it's a finger guns trade and then the single issue of A Silent Night, and then the two
Yeah.
covers of this one. So
Yeah. So, to get a little bit back to the story, where you talked about how a lot of this has the underlying current of rage through it. How is your process as a writer, as a creator? Is it self? You said you had a notepad that you kind of, or a notes app, I'm assuming, on your phone, that you're kind of taking notes. Is it really just dwelling on stuff that you resonate with as that you're going through in life as a person, or is it just like, or stuff that you watch? Like, how does your process work for creating stuff like that?
it's kind of all of the above,
Okay.
it's but I do like I have a notes app on my phone where like if there's something that I think is worth like it might spark something later, like even if it's a single sentence about like what if a guy had this on his head or
Right.
whatever, like I'll write that in the notes app, and then later if I'm ever like especially like for like an anthology, like if somebody hits me up and is like, hey, we have this anthology, do you want to be on it, and I'm like try to think of something to submit to it, I'll usually go to that and be like, oh, I could make that work with this and kind of. But yeah, it's a combination of like that, and yeah, like I'm actually doing a story for the SWAT cow book that we're doing, and that one is like kind of my take on the Green Knight. Um, but yeah, like so I do that some,
Okay.
obviously like people who are influenced by stuff, and you're gonna like I especially I anybody who's familiar with my stuff knows like I'll throw song lyrics into my stuff all the time. So I'm a big music influence kind of guy. And yeah.
Do
So
you do you utilize music when you're writing, a lot, like in the background, or
yes, a lot. I used to only do like instrumental stuff. A lot of people struggle with having words and speech going while you're
Mhm.
trying to also write other words, and that can be hard. So I'm very selective, but I have certain bands and stuff that I really that like the when the words are there, they inspire, and then like the biggest one for me is Nine Inch Nails.
Mm.
Um, I listen to the Fragile album by them a lot, and actually that's where the title of this book comes from. So everything is different now. The very first track of the Fragile by Nine Inch Nails is called Somewhat Damaged, and there's a lyric in that that says, how could I think it's funny how everything you swore that wouldn't change is different now. And
Mm.
so yeah, it's a killer line, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like that album and that band are very, ragey, but like lots of atmospheric,
Right.
and lots of fill-in stuff, lots of industrial metal and things like that. So like I do a lot of that, and I'll do a lot of hardcore punk is really good because it's like fast paced and the lyrics are like being screamed so you don't hear them half the time. And then the other times are like, it's stuff like, again, like I almost named it after a punk thing. There's a band called the Bronx, and I can't remember what lyric I almost used for the title of this book, but there was a title by them that I almost
Yeah.
used.
That's
Yeah, that's
that's
what I kind of do.
I love it. Well, and that's what I love about doing these interviews, and getting to see the creative process, and of getting the mind stuff out, like that Nine Inch Nails, like that opening track. Like I'm gonna go listen to that now. And sorry if you're listening at home, you have to go do your own research. I don't want to get dinged by YouTube or the podcast site, so you've got to check it out yourself. I'm not playing it for you.
It's a killer track, super ragey.
Nice. Well, obviously we're pumping up this Kickstarter, that's dropping tomorrow, and want people to go check it out. And I know you said you're working on another, part of another anthology. Is there other stuff that you're working on that you can kind of share, or is it all just kind of like in the works right now?
Most of us in the works. I have a lot of anthology stuff. Like, so for right now, like you can immediately go buy something of mine right now, actually, which is Mad Cave. It's releasing an anthology. It's available through previews, so you can just have your local comic shop order it. It's called Lower Your Sights, and it's actually a benefit anthology that's benefiting people in Ukraine, particularly children in Ukraine.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like they have some Ukrainian creators involved in their administrative, so they came up with this idea to do that and help the people
that's
there.
awesome.
Yeah, I was immediately like, yes, I will. Please let me be on this, and I got to do a 4-pager with Amy Stelladia, who just killed it. It's so good. I did a piece about, so it's all stories about people who are affected by war, and I did a delivery person who has to deliver letters that are informing people that their loved ones have been lost at war, and so it's a little heavy piece,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's that one is really good. Like I'm really proud of that one, particularly like Amy just killed it. So um, you can get that right now, and then yeah, I'm doing. Technically, I was involved with Color of Always, but I don't have a story in that one, and that one you can't order yet, but it is coming. There will be a time where I know Michelle is going to make it available to order online for people who missed the Kickstarter. So, um, and then yeah, I have. There was this chunk of time where between this and the anthologies that I'm currently on, I wrote 12 scripts in like 3 weeks. Like it was pretty wild time. Like I was just in my room listening to Nine Inch Nails and stuff and just pounding at that keyboard. And it was great. And yeah, so I've got a lot of different, like, they're all in different places and from
yeah.
different people. I'm working on some stuff with couple of publishers that you've heard of, but that are a little bit more still secret, still NDA type stuff. But let's just say you'll get to see more of um, my ability to force music into stuff or to write about music and stuff like that. So that's
Nice.
kind of the best tease I can get without getting in trouble.
Well, that's a great tease then. So, well, Justin, where can people follow along with you with what you're creating? Obviously, like you said, you've got a bunch of stuff, in the works right now that hopefully, that we'll be talking again here soon and having you. But until then, when can people follow along and just kind of see? Because you post a lot of your work online.
I do. I love to share stuff. So like when I can, I do. So the biggest place is Twitter. I have, everything like Instagram and TikTok and all that, but I'm like never on there. I'm basically on Twitter. I can handle that. So if you want to follow along with me, the best place is Twitter. My handle is at emo comic writer. And yeah, I just come chat at me there if you want.
Yeah, and gang, I'll link the description in the description of this video, and or if you're listening on the podcast, in the description there, the links that Justin mentioned, also the link to the Kickstarter. Go check it out, but also definitely follow on Twitter, because I'm not like joking, like Justin shares a lot of what's being created, and it's cool to see that, and I love that you do that and you share a lot with the fans and stuff, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound cheesy, but I am a fan too. So
Right.
like I know what would get me hyped up, like I was that annoying fan for Donnie, years ago, who was like on his shit, liking every post because he was teasing stuff. And yeah, so I like doing that, and I love being able to like be on the other end and kind of give back what I know I would want if I was following me, kind of thing. So
Yeah, no, that's sweet. That's the part of, like you said, working and doing the YouTube side, and then being a fan like that, kind of what fans want and what you would have wanted, and that's neat. So I appreciate that as a fan.
awesome.
So
I'm glad.
awesome. Well, Justin, thank you so much for just taking some time to talk about comics with me. Again,
Thank you.
gang, go support Justin on Twitter, and go click the link to this Kickstarter. Check it out. You're going to be impressed. I'm telling you what. So with that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.